So something weird that I didn't think I'd be saying about a movie that centers on kidnap and incest. I really liked Girl in the Basement. We watched it on Amazon. It's originally a Lifetime movie about the Elisabeth Fritzl case out of Austria. And if you guys are not familiar,
Ostrich.
Austria,
Learning German.
um, her father kidnapped her when she was 18 years old and kept her locked in a basement for 24 years. She had one miscarriage and 7 children, but her seventh child, they weren't clear on how he died, but they did say it was at the hands of her father, Joseph. And then he threw the baby in an incinerator. And um, yeah, she lived in originally 380 square feet, along with at first 2 children, and then she had 2 kids sent upstairs to live with her mother, who did not know that she was locked in the basement. And the sixth child, um, her father decided that her mother couldn't handle any more children. So the sixth child stayed down there. So 1, 2, and 6 stayed downstairs with her in the basement, and 2, 3, 4, and 5 got to live upstairs in the real world. And they did expand the basement to a whopping 590 square feet, but they had to dig out the area by hand. I know there's a lot to unpack there.
I'd be like, it's not worth it. Of course, they didn't have anything else to do.
They didn't, no. They had like a TV and a clock and
But
a
did they
microwave.
in real life though?
They
Because
did.
there were a lot of differences. Because I watched a documentary on it that had like real pictures from it and stuff like that, and it was a lot different. And then also, the movie didn't show 3 kids going to live with the mom; it just
Yeah.
showed the one.
Yeah.
And it also portrayed him not as a wonderful dad upstairs, but like proud of the grandson slash son, and stuff. And in real life, he was apparently an abusive piece of shit to all of them. So,
Yeah.
um, like pretty much from my understanding from the documentaries that I watched on it before watching the movie, um, like the wife they had kind of, I think their house was like kind of like a bed and breakfast or had
Mm-hmm.
apartments or something, but they also had like a cafe in there. And she worked the cafe all day every day pretty much from my understanding, and never got to go do anything. And um, so he was like pretty strict, where in this it makes it more in modern times. And like they have this normal American dream life, which obviously it wasn't even in America, but they portrayed them more as like a normal family that you would never
Well,
expect this from.
the movie was in America, but the case actually happened in Austria. And there was actually the there was a quote from him about like, they seem like a normal family. In jail, he did an interview, and he was quoted as saying, if you check other people's cellars in Austria, you're going to find a lot more girls and a lot more families in there, which was crazy that he showed no remorse for keeping his daughter locked downstairs in the basement for 24 years and raping her and like fathering 7 children with her. And then
Technically, if you include
yeah, technically 8
miscarriage.
because she miscarried. And then turning around and going, well, it's, that's just what we do.
It's normal.
No,
No, it's not normal. I don't care
no.
anywhere in the world that's not normal.
Yeah, it,
Even if it's a very shitty situation, and the rape and incest is more normal, because there have been many times, and in many places today it is, sadly. Still locking someone in the basement for 20 years, isn't it? Like
and
that.
it was because she couldn't be controlled. Essentially, she wanted to run away. He had been
I
abusing
wonder
her.
why.
Yeah, he had been abusing her since she was 11 years old. Uh, and she was going to run away and start a new life because who wants to live like that? And so
Yeah.
he was like, the fuck you are. And he actually, he kind of like locked her in there. He tricked her into the basement, oh, come help me with this, and locked her in this room. And I did not know this. There were 8 doors that you had to get through in order to actually get to Elisabeth and her children. 8 doors in this crazy basement.
That's weird since she ended up having 8 babies.
One door for
Like
each
some
baby.
weird universe thing.
Yeah.
Connection.
And it wasn't a fully soundproof area either because they had a tenant on the first floor who could hear them, and Joseph just dismissed him like, oh, it's just the pipes.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it sounded like people. It's just the pipes. Don't even worry about it.
Well, there was even, I think on one of the documentaries I watched, there was where they said that one of the tenants, it may have been the same one, he had a dog, and the dog would keep like, what the hell is going
Yeah.
on? And like out in the yard was even like, something's going on here. Like the dog knew something was up.
Always trust animals. They know more than us and should always be trusted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that case was one of the first true crime cases that I ever really followed. That one and Andrea Yates are the two that really stick with me. But this one, it was just such a crazy story that I was like, 24 years. He kept her downstairs. Nobody had any idea. She's having these babies. She's sending them upstairs. I also didn't know the basement cellar that they lived in. The ceiling height was 5 feet and 6 inches. Her son was 5'8". So he had to hunch
5'10".
over.
Like,
yeah, you wouldn't fit in there. But they said when she got out, he couldn't walk properly because
I imagine not.
Yeah. So he couldn't walk properly. I mean, they were all kind of they'd never seen the sunshine. They'd never been outside. It was crazy. And then the upstairs siblings had to like learn about their mother did exist. She did love them. And it was just such a messed up thing to happen. And it always struck me as just like the most insane thing. And you want to think that these things don't happen, but they do. You have people locked up places all the time, and it's horrible.
If I was that mother and I found that out, I would blow his head off.
Yeah.
After I tortured him.
Yeah. I mean, you got it.
Like that.
But yeah, he was, he seemed abusive or was abusive. And so she was probably terrified. And he married her at, she was 17, he was 21. And that was in, Elisabeth, I think, was born in the 60s. So no. Nope. She was born in, I think she was born in the 60s, and then she went into the bunker in 1984. And then in 2008, they found out because
Can you
her
imagine,
daughter,
like from 1884 to 1984, a lot changed. But I think it's almost equivalent to how much things changed from 1984 to 2004. Like, because
I mean, yeah, can you
with
even imagine?
technology and the internet and all that, like things like drastically changed.
Yeah.
So can you imagine coming out from pre-internet to post-internet world?
No, they did have a TV, so I'm wondering if like they had kind of some idea what was going on. Obviously not like
I doubt they had cable
everything, but I mean maybe like movies or something.
I bet it was kind of like in the movie where they just had like some VCR tape to watch.
That's my guess, but I would hope that like maybe it was like some current stuff too, but it wasn't. I mean, there's no way they would have had him on the news. But even if they did, he told everybody that she ran away.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't have had any kind of news
report. In reality, it had the note where she left with the baby in the movie, but in reality, he would have her periodically send letters to her mom saying she
Yeah.
was fine, and you know,
Yeah. So nobody worried about it and nobody thought
yeah,
about it.
yeah, because in the movie it didn't do that, and it made the mom out to be like, "No, I will find my daughter," when in reality that wasn't how it was. It was
Yeah.
she thought she was fine and just didn't want to be there, you know. And I mean, I think it did a good job at following the story, but they definitely changed a lot of stuff.
They
Uh,
did.
and then in also the documentaries, they interviewed like his best friend, like the couple that was their best friends.
Mhm.
And they're like, "Oh my God, like we've went over there so many times and had no
Yeah.
idea, that she was down there and that this was going on." Which I don't trust anybody. So I'm like, "Did you
No.
really not know?" Like at least the guy that was his best friend, like you really didn't know. I
Yeah.
don't
I
trust
mean,
you. I don't trust
yeah,
anybody.
you shouldn't. You can't trust anybody. But yeah, that just shows it. I mean, he had this, his wife wasn't allowed in the basement. Nobody was allowed in the basement. You know, you just never know. And so the basement bunker, the part that they were in was illegal, but he had permits to make a addition to the house.
Mm-hmm.
And they had an inspector come out and inspect everything and approved it. Also, like on paper, they were allowed to have this thing. So, and then he just like expanded it
Yeah.
and made it this, and everybody was like, "Oh, the construction is just due to this. He was doing a renovation on his basement," and you're
Yeah.
just like, "Nope, never trust anybody who's doing a renovation on their basement." And he locked his mother in the attic. He locked her in the attic for, they don't have the exact time. They said up to 20 years, and he bricked over the window. So, like, he had his mother in the attic until she died and his daughter in the basement.
And it
And
makes me
then,
wonder if he also raped his mother and stuff too. Like, who knows?
yeah,
He's a
that's,
monster. And then also in reality, he was known in the community for being a peeping Tom, and he had apparently raped someone and had stalked another woman and like
yes, I
tried
do
to
recall
rape her, and
that.
she fought him
Mhm.
off. Um,
But
it's like,
yeah,
why is he even free? Like,
yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, there's a lot of bad things surrounding him, and we're all just gonna kind of ignore it. And it just,
yeah, it's just like, oh, that's just Joseph. You know how
yeah,
he is. Like,
yeah, crazy Joseph that's
that's
super
how Joseph
possessive.
is
And
in prison. Like he
yeah.
should have already been in jail because he'd already raped someone. He'd already been stalking other people. He was a
Mhm.
peeping Tom, in the community, and everybody knew that. Like this dude's a fucking weirdo.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no reason that he should have been allowed to be out, allowed to be
Yeah, no.
free, allowed to go unchecked for this long. Um, yeah, there's so many things about that case, and I do like that he pled guilty. He didn't originally, he did not, but then Elisabeth actually went into the courtroom and he saw her and he ended up pleading guilty to a bunch of charges. He got life in prison, which honestly I wish that he had gotten the death penalty,
I
but
do too. He deserves
um,
it.
yeah, but I mean, if you can't get the death penalty, as long as he's not allowed to ever be free. So, but yeah, that it just made no sense. And the movie, they the father in that, he justified it as, well, she's a difficult teenager, so I had to lock her up in the basement. And I was like, that's
You're
that's
far
not
more
what you do with
difficult than
anyone.
she is. Like,
And she was 18. And
yeah.
he was like, oh, she's 18 now. I'm
Is
gonna
she
lock her up
going
in the,
around raping people and stalking them and peeking in their windows? No. Okay, you're worse than her.
something that I really did not like about him, and I'm in the movie. Um, and I don't know how the mother didn't catch on, like this bothered me. His demeanor was so different, just drastically different after she went missing. Because
At any time she was mentioned.
yeah, he was like, because when she went to that party and he found out she was missing, he was irate, he was throwing things, he was angry, he sat outside and waited for her to come home, and then he kidnaps her, locks her in the basement, and they have the cops over, and he goes, well, she said she was going to run away to Florida, so she probably just went, it's totally fine now. And you're like, no, that didn't red flag for anyone that he's just
Well, and then in the movie,
You
they
know, she's
also
so
had the
cool.
part where the mother's upset, and he's like, "You've got a daughter right here. Like,
Yeah. You're like, that's not how it
you
works.
place a kid. Like, that's not how it
Yeah.
works."
You're like, no,
Fucking
it doesn't
psycho.
matter. You're like, I had two daughters and right now I have one daughter. That doesn't
Yeah,
even out. Yeah, it made no sense. And he was just like so casual about, every time that she came up, oh, she's gone. Don't even worry about her.
yeah.
And to me, that would have red flagged of like, he's been so aggressive and angry with anything related to this girl, and
He
now all of a
clearly
sudden
is
he's
guilty
just,
of something.
yeah, and now he's just like totally fine. He's like, she turned 18, she probably just left. And it's like, no, you're controlling and abusive. There's no way that you're fine that she just left and is gonna go live her life and be fine now.
Yeah. But the movie was really good. I'm not a huge Lifetime movie fan.
I am.
There's a few that I've liked through the years, but I don't watch just a ton of Lifetime movies. Um, but
They're
I
a
liked
special
it, so
kind of
it was
movie.
good. And I liked that because I have PTSD from sexual abuse, not from like close family or anything like that. But um, I liked that it didn't actually show,
I
like,
did
you knew
too.
what was happening, you
Yeah,
knew what was about to happen, but it didn't even,
it wasn't
have her
graphic.
screaming and crying in the background. I mean, it was,
Yeah,
this is what's about to happen. We know that, you know, like, I
that's
don't know that in real life he probably had her put on the lingerie, but I guess I feel like in the movie they did that to signify, okay, this is what's about to,
yeah.
this is what's taking place without having to show anything or, have any noises from it or anything. But I think that was really good for other people who really struggle with it, to not have to worry about that.
Yeah, I was really glad about that too, because you never know. It's like
No, I do not.
we
I don't.
knew,
I do not want to see someone being raped,
yeah,
or especially an incest situation like that's. I don't want to see that.
the movie centers on incest. Who knows what it's
Yeah,
going to be?
and it's still graphic in the sense that that's even taking place, and
Yeah.
you understand that. But for them to protect, some of their viewers, especially being a channel that is known for being more of a women's channel, not that
Mhm.
men don't watch it or can't watch it, but I mean, that there are going to be a lot of women who have been through that, because sadly that's reality. And I just like how they did that and didn't
Yeah.
have to show anything, didn't have to, you get the point.
Yeah.
Which I wish a lot of other situations would do that. Um, because it would make life a lot easier for many people.
Yeah, there's a lot of times and watching things where you're just like, I
Can't
can't
watch this.
watch this, and you have to just turn it off or switch. And um yeah, it's hard. And you never know, because sometimes some of those things come out of nowhere. And you just kind of have to like deal with it as it comes. But I mean, yeah, it was really good. I feel like it was tastefully done. Um, and yeah, it wasn't graphic. And I do kind of wish that they'd set it up a little bit better, because it was kind of weird, to me at least. So they had the timer of like how long she'd been down there, and he raped her on like day 4, but they hadn't previously set up that there had been a sexual abuse. So to me, it kind of seemed like really sudden. I was like, I could see it like further in, unfortunately, which there's no good time for it. But
Right.
it one of those things where I was like, no kidding. He locked her up and immediately was like, this is my property. I can do whatever I want to you, and you just have
Yeah.
to deal with it. And it was a weird time frame for me, that it made no sense, and it was sad.
Yeah.
And then with her being pregnant, something that I never understood about, a lot of cases that you see where women get locked up in the basements and they get pregnant. And I just never understood why. Like, he couldn't have wanted that many kids. I mean, the actual Josef Fritzl had potentially 8 children over 24 years. And you have to imagine that, when she's pregnant, maybe he's not raping her as much, or it's not as comfortable. I mean, it's definitely not for her. But it was just one of those things where it's like, why do you want to support that many human beings? Can't you just like pull out, or use condoms or something? But it's always something that just, it's so weird that you see these cases all the time of like you have the pregnancies and the babies. And I just never understood that. And it's good for her because then she did have kids with her. I mean, I know they're incest, but it was a weird thing because he even brought it up later where he was like, I'm about to lose my job. I can't support all these kids. And it's like, well, I mean, you made them, like you knew the risk.
Yeah.
You're the adult here. You knew what happens when you have sex with somebody. And it's very hard to have sex. There's only, what is it, 2 days out of the month that a woman can even get pregnant. And she was pregnant 8 times.
Yeah.
So that was
And then a lot of times when you're breastfeeding, which not in every case, you can still get pregnant when you're breastfeeding. But many times while you're breastfeeding, you don't have your cycles and stuff like you normally would, and you don't ovulate, like you don't pass the
okay.
eggs. Um, and obviously, she had to breastfeed them,
Yeah. Because
So
she gave all of the babies at like 9 months and I think 15 months for some upstairs.
yeah,
Yeah, that was crazy.
the whole thing
Another
is just so 24 years. Can
24
you
years.
imagine being in solitary confinement other than the babies you've birthed that are incest babies with your dad,
And you can't even be honest with them because what are you supposed to tell them?
Yeah.
I mean, in the movie,
And what makes me wonder if in real life, because they had like sheets hanging up, kind
yeah.
of like they had different rooms. Like
Mhm.
in real life, like was he just raping her in front of those
So
kids?
the so I did read a little bit more about the cellar they kept him in. There was 2 bedrooms. So I don't think that he was raping her in front of the kids. However, it was still a
A
590
tiny little,
square
yeah,
foot. Um, and then the movie Room, have you seen that? So there's a movie called Room. It is also based off the story, but not quite as it's more loosely based.
yeah,
And in that, a guy kidnaps just a random girl. He keeps her in a shed, like literally a Home Depot shed in the backyard. And she has a baby and she's living in this shed with the 1 bedroom, with like one bed with this kid. And he was raping her in front of the kid because there was no option. She was just like, close your eyes and cover your ears. Like that's what you do when he comes down here. You close your eyes, you cover your ears. And he was like, you turn away from him. And she wouldn't let the kid look at him at all. And because she was like, you're not going to interact with this child at all. And something in this movie, The Girl in the Basement, that was interesting is that the kids didn't know until they were older. And you could see that moment when he was talking to the older daughter and he bought her makeup and he was like, kind of like, oh, come
yeah,
here, you look so pretty. And she just snapped
right,
that girl back and she's like, you will
no.
not go near him. Like, do not talk to him. And it was just one of those things where it's like, yeah, what do? He's coming down here. He's obviously not going to let them up. Um, and do you have to just let them think like, oh, this is my husband Don,
Do you know what you
who
do? You act like you're interested and you bite his penis off. That is what you do.
yeah,
Because then
well,
you've got to go to the hospital. Even if he ends up killing you, in that type of situation, I would be like, I don't have a life anyways. Go ahead and kill
yeah,
me over this, but you've got to go to the emergency room over this, and they're going to want to know who the hell bit your penis off
well, so
and
with
why.
that with that, I think once she had kids, I think she was probably more maternal, like she's living for her kids and she doesn't want her kids to die, even if it means that she is being abused like that.
I would be talking to my older kids. We would have
Yeah,
a plan.
well, they
Okay,
did. The
I'm going to
older
bite it off, and as soon as he screams, you come in and hit him in the head with something.
The other thing, well, here's what you have to remember.
How do you get out, though?
They couldn't
Yeah.
get out. If you kill him, then you can't get out. And he would threaten them, both in the movie and in real life with, he would shut off the power and he would withhold food from them. And in the movie, something they did was he made the kids think that it was her fault. Where
Yeah.
he actually said in the movie, he was like, well, if your mother would just cooperate, you guys wouldn't be down here. It's like, if you would just let us out, we wouldn't be down here.
Yeah.
And it was just like that moment of like turning your kids against her. Like, how dare you? She's all they have. You're a piece of shit. And then just sit there and be like, oh, well, she's the reason. No, she can't get out. How's she the reason?
Right. Like, I can't imagine the three kids that live down there, the traumatic experience of coming out of there
Yeah.
after spending your entire life,
Yep.
no sunlight, no interaction with any other human beings, never seeing anything other than those walls. Like, I
The
just can't.
oldest the oldest daughter was 19 years old when they were rescued. I want to say the oldest son was like somewhere between 16 or 18. He was pretty up there. The youngest son that she had in the basement was only 6. So he was possibly a lot less traumatized than the other two because there was more people to kind of make it more normal. But yeah, they said that they had a sensitivity to light. They said that the kids had PTSD to anytime the lights got dim or doors were closed. That would be a hard one for me. Anytime somebody closes a door and you have a panic attack because you were locked in a room, how do you even do that? And it also said they had trouble adjusting to having space around them. I mean, you spend 24 years, 19 years in less than 600 feet with 3 other people, you're going to have trouble with having
Yeah.
more space around you.
It's just everything about, like, I'm speechless about it because it's just so.
It's hard to imagine that somebody
I
actually did
can't. It's
that.
like my brain cannot comprehend that
Yeah.
type of treatment
Yeah. Like,
of human beings.
yeah. To see it in the movie, you're like, oh, this is
Anyone,
hard.
like, I
And then
wouldn't
to know
even
it was
treat
based
an
on true story.
animal like that, much less,
Yeah.
human beings. I
It was
say I wouldn't.
crazy.
I have a house cat, so apparently I would, but of course I'm not raping the house cat, obviously. But I
Yeah.
mean, I do keep my house cat inside. Of course, she has windows and
I keep trying to let my cats outside. They are not interested.
yeah.
But yeah, and something else that struck me. So in the movie, when she gave up the first baby, the second secret note. That second secret note, it bothered me only because it was not hidden. The way
Stick
that,
in a diaper, or
yeah,
like he ain't gonna
under the
change the
clothes,
damn
something.
diaper, obviously.
Exactly. Like he wants nothing to do with those kids. Like she put it just like under the baby in the bassinet, and you're just like, of course he found it.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking too, because they all knew that the father was abusive, what about a safe word? Like
Right.
if you were in a situation where you have an abusive parent and maybe you are worried about something like this, have a safe word that's like a normal word that she could have slipped in there, like, oh mom, I miss your pineapple upside down cake. And he won't think anything of it because he's like, oh, she's just putting a personal detail in there. But really the mom's like, pineapple, that's our word,
Right.
and something is not right. And I don't know what it
Exactly.
is, but something. And so that was, I felt so bad about that note that I was like, I hate that. I hate that so much that like she tried and she failed. And then that scene where they were trying to dig their way out, and I was so sad because they were so close, and she's doing the light. Although I have to say, that guy walking his dog was a nosy Nelly. And I guarantee you, if I had been walking my dog and just seen a flashlight flicking in somebody's yard, I would
I would have been like,
absolutely not have knocked on their door.
me too.
Like who does
I
that?
would have
Who
been
sees
like,
somebody?
what in the hell is that?
He knocked on the door. He's
Okay.
like, so like I saw a flashing light in your yard. Are you aware of it? Get out! Get off my property! Like mind your business. But
Yeah.
yeah, I thought that was like like who in this day and age would possibly walk up to a stranger's house and be like, there's a flicking light. Yeah, it's my like yard lights. They must be going out. That was that was interesting though. I was like, oh, they were so close, and then she wasn't. But
I mean,
that made me really sad.
I say I wouldn't do anything. I don't know. I'm pretty blunt. I know it doesn't seem that way on our show because Megan talks a lot more than I do. But in reality, I'm pretty blunt. Like, we took our dog to the park the other day to go walking, and there's this guy, he's carrying two dogs, and he's got this third dog, and he's by himself hiking, no leash on any of these dogs. And he just puts all the dogs down, letting them just run wild. And they come up to my dog and are sniffing her, and kind of, one of them's kind of acting, at first not really growling, but lightly growling, and he's like, oh, or just checking her out, or checking the dog out, or whatever. And I'm like, what if your dog has freaking parvo or some shit? Like, I got a puppy who just got its first shot. It's like, I don't want your damn dog. And so, Anthony and Sagan are nice, and friendly, and I was like, you really should keep your dogs on a leash whenever you're in public. Because, I'm a bitch. Just say what I think. But, like we've talked before about the not having your inner monologue.
Yes.
I really wonder if that's part of why I will just say what I think. Because I don't really run it through my head over and over and think, okay, what do I need to edit out? And then after I say it, then I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that like that. But oh well.
Yeah, I don't like confrontation, so I won't do that.
I hate confrontation. That's why
I'll move away.
Because I hate confrontation. Like, I could be sweating over it, but I'm still gonna say it. And like, one of the people that live at the end of our driveway, he started dumping their litter box on, like, between a tree that's right up against our driveway and our driveway.
Why? Just throw it in the garbage.
Because he's fucking dumbass is what.
Like, it's just gonna pile up.
Yeah, and I think it was the second time another pile had got on there. I was like, I went to check the mail, and I was like, I've had enough of this shit. So I'm like, bang, bang, bang on the door, and he's like, yeah, can I help you? I was like, yeah, you can. Why don't you stop throwing your shit in my driveway? And he's like, what? I was like, your cat shit. I'd prefer it not being in my driveway. It's pretty freaking disgusting. And I've got like a 4-year-old. I don't want him running down the driveway and there being a big pile of shit. It's like, throw it in your damn trash can like a normal person. Like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, like, who does it? Or like,
sorry.
if you insist on doing that, like, get a fucking bucket and dump it in there. And like, I don't know how cat litter. Like,
no, it wasn't that I was walking down the driveway. I remember now. We were in the vehicle leaving, and we saw that there was another pile, and I was like, I'm gonna go tell.
Like, stop the car.
I'm gonna go off on him. And I'm one of those people, like, I'll mouth, but I really don't normally do it. And Anthony stops the truck. He's like, all right, go do it then. And I was like, okay, I will.
You're like, how dare you call me out like that?
I went and did it, and I get back in, and I was like, you didn't think I'd do it, did you? And of course, he's like, I really didn't think that you would. And Lily was like, I knew you would.
Well, yeah, because when somebody
challenges you, I'm absolutely going to.
Yeah, that was it. I don't do it for confrontation, but I get really anxious about everything, every interaction. And I just have that internal monologue that just goes, fuck it, what's the worst that can happen? So like, that's what I do when I'm sitting there and I'm like nervous and I'm like dying and I'm just internally panicking and I'm just like, nope, fuck it, just do it. And it happens how it happens. And so that's how I do it. But
this dude's weird though anyways. Yeah, the girl in the basement. Back on track because we can never stay on track.
Them getting saved too was just the most crazy thing. And I'm shocked that he didn't let them die. I
really am too.
Yeah, like he didn't let Kirsten die, like the actual one, and he didn't let the movie one die either. And
yeah,
I was shocked by that because you would think that's
like she can die.
Yeah, you're like, great, that's one less person that's a witness because you can't leave witnesses because that's where you mess up. That's where he messed up with Christopher, that boyfriend. He spouted off his mouth and he was like, oh, she ran off with Steve. Like, it wouldn't come back to him. Just say you don't know. Like, there's no reason to be like elaborate stories that'll definitely unravel.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he tried to, in the movie, he tried to kill them with carbon monoxide poisoning.
The car.
At first I thought he was killing himself too. But then when his like upstairs son came into the garage and he's just like, oh, Dad, what are you doing? And the dad was like, totally fine. The gas had been running forever. I was like, oh, this piece of shit was literally just trying to murder
Yeah,
his,
like he had the thing, in there to take all of
yep,
that and put it in there.
yep. So I'm like, wow, that was his plan. He was just gonna murder them all. So yeah,
What are you gonna
and
do with all
then
those bodies of the big ones? Like you can't
he's
just lug
very
those
upset.
out and not be seen.
I mean, honestly, he probably could have. Like nobody in his life
Now,
seems to
in
care.
real life, I think he probably could have, since he was an abusive, to
Yeah,
everybody, and would have been like, "Everyone, go to your rooms. I'm tired of your shit.
yeah.
Come out. I'm gonna beat the crap out of you," type thing, and then take care of it. But
I mean, to be honest though, he probably could have just left them. I mean, it was a cement area. He probably could have just left them, and nobody would have ever known. Because it's possible that they would have just like mummified and decayed and like just been self-contained. But yeah, it's a weird thing to yeah, like it's a weird thing to think about. And that's why like they couldn't try to escape, because if anything ever happened, I mean, nobody would know they were down there.
yeah,
It's not like he left a note somewhere that was like, in case I die, I have a second family trapped in the basement. Here are all the codes.
well, and he said he was changing the codes every day.
Yeah. But I doubt that. I highly doubt that he was
I do
changing the codes
too.
every day.
Unless it was like, okay, it's day 10001,
Yeah.
0002, 0003
What
every
happens when you
day.
get up into the 5 digits?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Start over, I guess. I don't know.
That's true. You could start over. But yeah, it was such a crazy thing that like he one took his daughter to the hospital, and two then took his other daughter to the hospital. It was like, "Oh, this is the girl's mother." Like and just let her like be in the world, and it was such a wild thing that like that he
Yeah,
did
it
that.
was it was really surprising that he takes her to the hospital, which is what he
Yeah.
did in real life. That just blows my mind.
Yeah, I'm absolutely shocked. Now, granted, in real life, he did leave the oldest son and the youngest son in the basement, and he was like, if you tell anyone, they'll die down there. So like she did
Yeah.
have incentive like not to tell, but still, like that's crazy to think that like he just was like going on trust that she wouldn't
Like
tell
I
anyone.
wouldn't believe that. I'd be like, okay, so if I tell someone, you're gonna leave them down there, you're gonna be in prison. But wait, but he has the codes to get in, though. Of
Yeah.
course, they could like use a jackhammer to
Yeah,
get
they could figure it
concrete,
out.
and they would figure.
And and it actually she didn't, so in the movie she found a nurse and she was like, hey, I need help. But in real life what had happened was the hospital staff thought that something seemed off, so they
Yeah,
made a plea for the mother. And then when she came, the police came and they were like, hey, are you okay? And she had a clause in there. She goes, promise me I will never have to see him again, and I will tell you what's going on. And like she made them promise that she would never have to interact with him again, and that her children would be safe. And then she was like, yeah, no, he's had me for 24 years in the basement. I have, all of these
however
children.
many years, she probably didn't even know how long it had been.
Yeah, because
I
I
mean,
mean,
like
honestly,
since 1984. I
yeah,
don't know
you're
what
right.
year it is
Like
now, but that's
1980.
what year we were in there. Can you imagine in 2008?
Yeah, it blows my mind that like it went so long that nobody questioned it. And it was nice too that when they got out, it wasn't a public spectacle. Like, and I'm wondering if it was because it was in Austria and not the United States, because I feel like if that
Yeah,
happened here, it would have just been like this
because
huge.
I've never heard anything about it.
Yeah, yeah, I heard it, but it was very like vague when it was happening. And we had something kind of similar here. Ariel Castro in, I want to say, Ohio, he had 4 or 5, somewhere between 3 and 5 women locked in his basement. And one of them got loose and, told somebody, it was like, we are being held in the basement, like, help
I feel
us.
like I know about that, but I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
heard.
Like, I
Yeah, I
don't
heard
follow
about it.
any of that kind of stuff. Like this little series we're doing about these, like every single thing we're doing is like news to me because I followed politics for a long time. It was just like, oh, this depresses me. I don't give a shit about politics anymore. I hate
Which is
everything
so
about
funny
it.
because that's when I started following it because I just started going, I'm like, how? How is this? How are people
Yeah,
believing
how
this?
is
How
happening?
is
No, and I
what is
still
happening?
follow it, but it was kind of like I just wasn't
It
into it like I
it
was.
hurts your
Like,
brain, is
yeah,
what it
it was
does.
just too much. But I don't follow that kind of stuff. Like I don't. So I'm just like, whoa. And then, even if I did and read it, like I forget everything. So
That's how I am with shows. People spoil things for me all the time, and I'm like, don't even worry, I'm just
yeah, I'm
goldfish, and
gonna
it's
forget it.
coming
So
out. But true crime, I do have, and I do like these stories. I watched the John Benet Ramsey 2020. I
I don't even
follow
know
along.
much about that. I've got
She's
you
five
who
years old.
actually knows about this stuff, and then me who's like just a noob, just
And
like,
then
ooh, that's fun.
I type up oh God, what is it? Like a crib sheet for Lindsey for the
Yeah, every episode. Which I mean, I watch all the stuff though,
yeah.
but yeah, Megan has like a whole outline and everything, and I'm like, I'm just gonna wing it. This is whatever.
No. And that's I can't do it because if I wing it, I just go, oh wait, facts.
So that's the mystery crime thing of Girl in the Basement movie on Lifetime. If you want to watch that, and then if you want to do some more studies on it, Joseph Josef uh, Fritzl, is that how you say it?
That's
Fritzl,
Fritzl. It's
Fritzl,
Fritzl.
Fritzl, Fritzl,
Yeah.
Fritzl.
Currently imprisoned for life, and his family is living
In a
all together in
small
this like
village, like a
yeah.
small little
Hmm.
community. And
And
apparently, like the whole community kind of protects them. They're like, they won't let people come in and take pictures. They're a really good
yeah,
community for them to be in.
which is great
Probably
because
where
they're
everyone in
all
the witness protection
adjusting.
program lives or something.
Well, they were offered new identities. I don't know if they took them or not, but yeah, they're all just they live and they're getting to know each other and like become a family. And I think that's beautiful. And I'm so happy that they
I wonder if
are
they
out.
have the kids have health issues or anything.
They
Like
do.
being incest, do they? I didn't
Um,
know.
I don't think they have like help. They were told that it's possible, but I mean, all of the kids were older, so I feel like you would have known. I think most of the health issues stemmed from being in the basement, the anemia. I know Kirsten was hospitalized because of kidney failure. So I'm not sure exactly what caused that because they didn't really say, but I have to imagine being in a moldy basement. During the trial, one of the things that the prosecution did was they had a box of items from the cellar and they took that box and they handed it to the jury and they're like, these are items that they were using in the cellar. Smell this box. And this is what it smelled like 24/7. It was just like moldy, mildewy, and like people had to leave the jury box. Um, so it was one of those things where like you can't live in mold mildew in the dark for your entire life and not have some health issues. But
Yeah,
I think as far as the incest goes, I don't think there were any apparent health issues, which is good, but it also
but
yeah, overall good movie. Horrible monster that created this true story that we wish never happened and hope never happens again.
yeah. Thanks for watching, listening, whichever one you're doing.